Hey, viewers and viewers, my name is John Red Strategist. Welcome back to Stay Being Hunted, episode 531. A little bit more pre-recorded content just to go out on the channel. Just tiding me over, obviously, the Christmas and New Year periods until I can eventually get a chance to come back down south after visiting friends and family and do some more recording. So you guys are all doing very well. Now, in the last episode, I was talking about actors, things like that. Actors who sound the same in every movie that they're actually in. I do have a topic of conversation though for this video. It's actually a distinct one. It doesn't really follow actually from anything I've been talking about over the last two episodes, and it's not a specifically Christmas or movie related theme or anything like that. In fact, actually, it's a pretty random digression. But I was thinking recently about art. Now, bear with me. I'm not going to be pretentious. This isn't going to be a pretentious video of me going, "Oh yes, I really do have a taste for the colourful works of Claude Monet of the 1700s. Wait, Claude Monet. There is an artist called Monet. Was his first name Claude? He definitely wasn't 1700. He was much, much later. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, it's because I was thinking recently about how when I was a kid, I used to... Actually, I guess that's the connection here, because actually a couple of episodes ago... Oh no, actually, no. What am I saying? That doesn't make sense. No, basically, as when I record this, ladies and gentlemen, it is mid-December, and I've had a big recording session, and a bit earlier, before I started recording the last sort of 2 or 3 Sir episodes, I did a recording of a Christmas special of Tracks, the train set game, which probably will have gone, well, not probably, it will have gone out on the channel probably a good week or maybe even 2 weeks ago, depending on when I decide to release it. And in that, I was talking about, my childhood, Christmases, things like that. And I suppose actually that's the tenuous connection, because I'm recording this episode that same day. And so I've probably just been thinking about, my childhood years again and all that. But for some reason, I was thinking about when I was a kid, when it came to art. As a kid, I always used to really have a thing for Vincent van Gogh. If you're American, Vincent van Gogh. If you're European, 19th century Dutch painter and all that. Obviously he's kind of most well known for his mental health problems, and for apparently the fact that he supposedly cut his own ear off. I don't actually know how true that story is, though. How true is the story about Vincent van Gogh cutting his ear off? Is there any actual truth to that, or is that kind of one of those stories that it's come about somehow and people just sort of believe it without really questioning it? I don't know. I've heard differing takes on that story, basically, is what I'm saying there. But, as a kid, I actually used to really like a lot of Vincent van Gogh art, especially Starry Night. That, of course, was, one of his most well-known paintings. I just really liked it as a kid. I don't know what it was about I think it was just like the swirling colours against like that sort of very deep blue night sky. Because as a kid, I was always like looking at elements of it and thinking, interesting well, I wasn't using these words in my own head. As a kid, I was just like, me likey colours and all that. But as an adult, I look at it now and think, interesting composition and all that. But yeah, Van Gogh, some good paintings and all that. I was thinking, about other artists as well who I like. Not necessarily when I was a kid, but now as an adult. And obviously, I've mentioned before, not just here in Stay Being Hunted, but in many of my series, on many of my videos, how obviously I like all things to do with the maritime and, the ocean, things like that. And I must say, I think J.M.W. Turner as an artist is always quite an interesting one, because he has a lot of like maritime themed paintings. Is it the Fighting Temeraire, I think, is one of them? I mean, that's just one of them, of course, but it's a good one. So, I do like some J.M.W. Turner paintings. They're always quite good. I must say, with just maybe a few exceptions, I'm not a big fan of sort of more modern art from sort of like 20th century onwards. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of thing. There will be exceptions to that, no doubt. Which, if you showed me, depending on like the colours and what's actually being depicted, I'd probably be like, okay, that's interesting. I won't say I dislike it at all. But yeah, as a general rule, I do like sort of older artworks. I think they're quite interesting, and especially like with some of the old ones, where you just think the amount of effort and time that must have gone into them. It's just incredible. But yeah, so J.M.W. Turner, Vincent van Gogh. I'm assuming it is technically supposed to be pronounced Van Gogh, like that, right? because when I was a kid here in the UK, I think we usually just call him Vincent van Gogh. No, not that. Sorry, that's completely the same as what was it? Vincent van Gogh or Goth, something like that. I think sometimes his name gets kind of pronounced like that sometimes. And I don't think obviously that's the correct pronunciation, but I think it's just one of those things which English-speaking people tend to pronounce it that way for ease of pronunciation. Because obviously that ugh sound, like Gogh, is not really something which we have in the English language. In fact, I can't really think of any word in the English language that has that kind of phoneme or whatever you'd call it. So I think that is very much kind of something that is distinct to certain European languages, and probably other languages further afield as well. But yes, there is another artist who is on my brain. What's her name? Come to think of it, this is actually a much more modern artist. This is an artist who is very much alive and still painting, I think, at the moment. What's she called? I think is it Judy Boys? She's probably not a very well-known artist. She's probably quite niche to the UK. But having said that, I've just said before, I don't really go for modern art, and then I've just said a modern contemporary artist. But Judy Boys is a British painter who... She has a lot of... I think she has a gallery, the studio, where she sells her artworks in the Lake District somewhere. And as you can imagine, a lot of her paintings are basically rural scenes from the Lake District. And I say her because my grandmother, on my mother's side of the family, she actually has a Judy Boys print sort of on her wall over the fireplace in her house, Spinning Gallery at Tilberthwaite. Which, I don't know, it's just a interesting painting. And I always kind of liked it to look at. Because, like I say, it's a very rural scene. So it's like, let me try and describe it for you. So, in the backdrop, it's kind of like, I think like a hill. Sort of like the slope of a hill going up with obviously like trees and woodland on it. And in the foreground, the sort of the main subject of the painting itself is the spinning gallery itself, which is this very sort of like crumbly looking, very, very traditional looking house. Like white-faced house with like this little sort of wing on the side, and it's very very rickety looking. It just looks very interesting, and I'm pretty sure, given the name of it, that it's based on an actual real life location, an actual gallery at Tilberthwaite, which basically, put it into Google, ladies and gentlemen. If you put Spinning Gallery at Tilberthwaite into Google, you'll probably find the picture. It'll come right up. It'll be right there on Google Images or whatever. And probably, I would imagine, maybe if you go on Google Maps, maybe you could find it. I don't know. Then again, having said that, there's probably a lot of locations in the Lake District which are off the beaten path, probably down like little dirt tracks and things where the Google van probably has never been before. But you never know. Sometimes people obviously go down there and they take photos and then they like put it on like the little blips on Google Maps, things like that. So I'm sure you can probably find it. But yeah, Judy Boys, she does, like I say, a lot of Lake District scenes, stuff like that. And some of them are just really gorgeous to look at. Especially the ones of like lakes themselves, stuff like that. It's just really, really nice. I sometimes think to myself, maybe I should, if I had a proper house, maybe I'd buy myself, if I could, some Judy Boys paintings and just hang them up. Because the thing is, I do have a kind of a love of sort of rural scenes from like the northwest of England. I mean, and I'm not saying this just because, of course, I am at heart a Lancashire lad and I grew up in that region of the country. But there are some nice areas, some very beautiful natural areas around Lancashire and that sort of place. Lancashire getting out towards obviously Yorkshire. So like obviously, apart from the Lake District up in Cumbria to the north of Lancashire, you have obviously parts of East Lancashire which are quite pretty, nice rural areas, around about like the River Hodder, things like that. And of course, obviously, you have like the Trough of Bowland, the Forest of Bowland, that sort of area, which is very close, within sort of a short kind of drive of the rough sort of area where I grew up as a child. I can remember years and years ago, back in the day when I was a kid, going on little family picnics up in the sort of Trough of Bowland area during the summer. You go paddling in the streams, things like that. But God, yeah, fond memories and all that, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if you're ever a tourist and you're ever in the UK, I think Trough Bowland, if you're ever in that region, always worth a visit. Take yourself a nice little picnic hamper or whatever, get some sandwiches, go and visit it. As I say, the Lake District, of course, that's always another area that's well worth a visit. But I would say the thing about the Lake District is, obviously there's like the major sort of tourist spots, like Bowness, Windermere, places like that. But if you really want proper sort of rural Lake District kind of beauty, it's probably best to sort of drive out from Windermere and those places and sort of go around some of the other lakes and visit some of the other like towns around that kind of region, like Grasmere, Ullswater, places like that. Because I can remember, you know, just family outings. I actually remember one outing where me and my older sister we were taken out for a little outing by my grandmother and my granddad when he was still alive on my mother's side of the family. We went for a drive around the Lake District area, visited a few places like Ullswater, for instance. I think I remember we stopped off in Ullswater. I can't remember whether I think it was we stopped off for lunch in Ullswater at a little pub. I just remember that being really, really nice. I can sort of vaguely remember it. Obviously, it's years and years ago, so my memories of it aren't the clearest. But yeah. God, not to think that I just mentioned Judy Boys and suddenly I go off on one about the Lake District. Oh yeah. God, I'll have to go back on Judy Boys' website and just have a look at some more of her artworks. Because they are beautiful, you know. They are like traditional sort of paintings. It's very nice. If you're into like traditional painting, it's well worth a check. And obviously, you know, as I imagine it's probably the case with her that, you know, she probably like paints a new picture, probably has several prints of it made, but they're probably quite limited edition. So she probably only has like so many prints of them, and then eventually they sell out. Because obviously, like I say, I don't think she's a majorly well-known artist. She's certainly not like an internationally known artist, I think. She's probably one who's most well-known within sort of like the northwest region of the UK, and probably a bit more widely within the country, but yeah, so as you can imagine, you know, she has to know her, you know, target market and whatever, which probably means that they don't just print endless copies of her work. But yeah, you know, just a little, you know, if you're into art, maybe it's one that's worth checking out and all that. Also, it makes me realise I've got to stop saying "but yeah." I say that a lot, don't I? But yeah, and you know, things like that. Got to come down on that a little bit. Otherwise, it's just going to be a video full of "but yeah, but yeah, but yeah." Alright, I think that's probably a good amount of time for a little third podcast-style episode, just to keep me going over the Christmas and early New Year period. So thanks for joining me then, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, waffled on a little bit there about art. But let me know, you know, if there's any favourite artists that you guys have, who you think would be worth having a chat about down in the comments. I'd be willing to maybe go and take a look at some of their arts on Google and all that, see if I like it. But other than that, yeah, there's not really much else for me to say other than Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the link to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. And if you enjoyed, a like is of course always appreciated. Other than that, this is John Red signing off. Goodbye everybody. Yes, I can see you are, Blowbox. I've been frozen in an ice cube. It's on the Rayman game update. Okay, go up this way. That's lovely. He's got him. Oh no, I'm going to miss that. Oh shit, I missed that path up there. Oh god, I'm going to hit that. Didn't want to do that. Can I go this way? Oh, there's a green gem down there as well. Right. If you fail at this area, I think it just loops you back to the start. So we might do that. We might deliberately fail just so I can go round again and again until I eventually get that green gem at the very least. Yeah. Got it.